Let's get started. Hello, everybody. I'm Natalie, Peyton, Neumann, and welcome to Uncharted, your Sidekick for life. We have a very special guest today, Amber Gunst, and we're so excited because Dan Dillard is back in the studio with us today, so we're tag teaming this one. Thank you so much for being here, and thanks for joining us again.
Of course.
It's so fun to have you back in.
Well, Amber and I were having coffee a couple weeks ago, and I was like, you've got to come on the show, and I'll show up and make sure we do that interview.
I love
Yeah,
it.
no, and it was such a fun coffee. It's always great to catch up with you, Dan, and so nice to meet you, Natalie.
Likewise. I'm just dying to hear your story. We like to start with the map of people's lives. So...
Yeah, and then also I wanted to point out that we're changing the script on how we do these podcasts. So these will be shorter. It'll be 3 episodes. First episode is the map, and then we'll go into episode 2 and episode 3 to get some mentorship and some other things as well. So
yeah, no, it's wonderful.
So we always love to start with the first question. What did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be everything when I grew up. I wanted to be Sandy from Grease. I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to be everything. In fact, I was telling somebody earlier today, my first 2 years of college were actually at the local community college up in Michigan. And I'm so glad that I did that because when I went into college, I didn't know what I wanted to be. And so I had to find my way through that. But I wanted to be everything.
That's awesome. I think one thing just for the audience purposes, we know you, Amber, but also would you just kind of talk a little bit about what you're doing now and all that so that we can then backtrack and come back forward?
Well, that everything that I wanted to be when I was little turned me into first a CEO and then an entrepreneur and CEO. And so I have a company called Fundlist. It's a startup in the fintech space where we're focused on helping investors and founders better identify each other. So helping investors manage their deal flow, helping founders actually find investors that are interested in their space as opposed to, here, Dan, here's a list of every investor I know and their email address and good luck. And that's how it's been working for years. And it's not that any of those information is bad. It's just really hard for those investors to dig through. And it's really hard for the founders to be able to keep up to date on who they're reaching out to and who they're supposed to be having a conversation with.
Such a smart move because you're exactly right. As a person on the other side, as a founder, knocking on doors, the amount of doors that one has to knock on. And then, the idea could be great. The person could be great, but it's like, that just doesn't fit my investment thesis. I'm invested in that. And we could have just saved 2 hours if we just or an hour if we could have just done that. So the fact that you're making that more efficient with your new business is wonderful.
Yeah,
really
And our algorithm is focused on this is what I'm raising for. This is what I'm investing in, as opposed to, and I don't ever want to disparage products like Crunchbase and AngelList. They have great things that they're doing, and they have very sincere focuses on what they're looking at. But if I were to go on AngelList or Crunchbase today, as a founder raising capital, it wouldn't be so easy.
Yeah.
Is it because the warm introduction is still very important?
Absolutely. That warm introduction is critical and key because if you look at it, the capital investment space is very much a relationship-based aspect, right? Mm-hmm. So I've done sales my entire career. And I feel like if you're in a company and you're not doing sales, you probably aren't earning a paycheck. But when you look at it from cold calling versus introductions, cold calling, you're going to get about 20% of those people to respond if you're good. If you're good. If you're really good.
Yeah.
If you're great at it, you're going to get about 30% of those people to respond. Warm calls or introductions, you're going to get about a 50 to 60% response rate, depending on how the person that's doing the introduction actually set the introduction up. So if I'm introducing you to, Krishna over at Live Oak, I'm going to reach out to Krishna first and say, hey, do you want to meet Dan? Do you want to have a conversation? This is what he's building. Whereas, somebody else may just say, oh, I know Krishna. Let me do this introduction for you, Dan. Right. If I do the introduction and because Krishna said, yes, I want to have a conversation with Dan. I'm
Right.
interested in this. He's going to respond to you,
Right.
right? It may not be him. It may be somebody else within the fund, but someone within that fund is going to respond to you. Whereas if I just do the introduction, yeah, there's about a 50% chance because Amber introduced me and I know she wouldn't introduce me to somebody I don't want to talk to.
Mhm.
But so it really just depends on how that goes.
That's so fascinating.
Just wanted you to get the background of it.
Okay,
Amber
thank
did
you.
as well.
That helps a lot.
Yeah.
To understand the maps. And now I have like
Of
that.
course.
I typically do read the last chapter first. And
I always read the last sentence. I'm
Yeah.
like, is this going to have a happy ending or a sad ending? Like, do I need to go to Costco first and get that box of
That's
Kleenex?
funny. So now going back to you.
To when I was a wee little
Yes.
girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
7, 10, 12. Yeah, what does that look like?
I mean, I grew up in Western Michigan, a very small town called Norton Shores. It's in Muskegon County. And I actually, when I was born, my parents were still living in low-income housing. My dad was a Vietnam veteran. My mom was a stay-at-home mom for the first few years. And we lived in low-income housing.
Mhm.
There's not a lot of people that talk about that, but it happens
Right.
to a lot of
Yep.
folks. They
Yep.
live in some aspect of, we're saving money. And my parents were able to save money. They were able to leverage the GI Bill to buy a house.
Mhm.
Cool.
Actually, they built the house. They own it. It's, they
To
still
this
live in it to
day.
this day.
Oh my gosh.
My mom she's like, I don't want strangers living in my house. So
Right.
this house is going to go to a family member. But it's, growing up in an environment where always having to work hard, always
Mhm.
having to hustle, always having a side hustle, always, doing that. I'm the first person in my immediate family to go to college.
Mhm.
Wow.
I'm I'm the first person in my immediate family to become a CEO. I'm the first person in my family to do a lot of things.
Mhm.
And my brother followed along, my sister followed along. I'm actually the middle child. There's a lot of things that I did that my parents looked at, and they actually were a very vocal family. And they would say to me, "Are you sure you need to do this? Are you
Exactly.
sure you
Yeah.
need to do this?" And because
It's
I don't
just-
wanna say
it's
they're-
foreign to them. Yeah.
it's foreign to
Mhm.
them. There wasn't that conversation
Right.
in the 1960s when they were graduating high
Right.
school of, you should go to college and here's what the path looks like if you go to college.
Yeah.
Their parents said to them, well, my dad's parents said, you've got 3 options. You can get a job and work, live at home and pay rent.
Mhm.
You can go into the army, or you can go to college. And my dad chose the army, and this
Yeah.
was in the Vietnam era. So
Mhm.
he spent a year and a day in Vietnam. My mom's options were get a job, stay at home and pay rent, or go to college.
Right.
And she chose to get a job, and she actually moved in with some friends.
Yeah. Well, what I find fascinating about that, especially, I have a similar background, grew up on the other side of the tracks, and you have so much more appreciation, but also you grow flexibility. And it's this mental gymnastics that
So
one
true.
can do because you have grown up doing all the things, all the side hustles. I think I was working since I was like, 8 years old. The first time I remember actually working out and in field work. So what could I do at that point in time? And my parents did that. So, but I look back now and I'm like, man, that's such a blessing to have that. There's a saying that necessity is the mother of invention, right? And I use that today, even as the startup goes up and down, everything else, things get tight, and you have that mental gymnastics, that mental flexibility to like, oh, that's no worries, I got this. I've been here before. I can get out of this.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot to be said about having that type of upbringing.
Yeah. And
But
I mean,
I want to move
go
on
ahead.
to
Yes.
the next level of
Yeah.
your life because
yes.
we can stay here for an hour.
I know.
We
Talk
got
about those
15 minutes to talk
children's
about
books. Yes.
your background. So, okay, so let's move on to the next area of your life. So you had those things. You grew up there. You went to college, and then what?
Then actually in 2009, I moved here to Austin.
Okay.
And whenever people ask, why Austin? Why did you move to Austin? Why did you move at that time? I wonder if they actually looked at headlines around the country because
Well, the housing market was great.
I was come from Michigan. And, growing up in Michigan, at least at the time, for many years, there was one or two industries that you looked at. So manufacturing was the primary industry, whether it was automotive or furniture. So they build a lot of office furniture in Michigan. There were a few other industries that you could get into, but the other one was healthcare. Well, manufacturing takes a hit.
What was your degree in, or what did you study?
I got a degree in English creative writing. So
Okay.
I was doing sales.
Okay.
And trying to sell in an environment where people are losing their homes and their businesses, and they're losing their sobriety, they're losing their marriages, and all of these things, it's very difficult.
Right.
And I'd gone through in my working career, I'd gone through 2 recessions at this point.
Wow.
And I just decided this was the last one. Plus the last winter that I lived up there, we went 72 days without sunshine. And that was it for me. I was done.
Yeah,
I was done. I love my home state. I love the people there. I want nothing but the best for them, but I needed a change in my life at that point. So I had friends that lived in the Austin area, and I moved down here. My first job that I had here was working for the Chamber of Commerce and membership development. And I think that's how we originally met, Dan. And I was there for 4 years. And I have to say, that is the best job you can get as an adult moving to a new city where you don't know anyone.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Because you
don't-
meet
Makes a lot
everyone.
of sense.
instant network.
Yeah.
You meet everyone. And because you work for the Chamber of Commerce, people want to meet you and they want to talk to you and they want to have a conversation with you. And and I loved the work that I did there. I loved the organization, still a big fan of it, that and Opportunity Austin. And it was through there that I was first introduced to Austin Technology Council. This was back when Julie Hulse was the CEO. And we did some events and everything with them. And I always looked at Austin Technology Council as that's the little engine that could,
Yes.
right? Like
Yes.
the little nonprofit organization that could. I always saw what interesting things could happen. It's not that Julie wasn't doing interesting things. I
Right.
want to be really clear about that. She was doing great things with ATC at the time. But whenever you have an entrepreneurial mind, which I think most people who grow up on the lower income side, even of the middle class, get a little bit entrepreneurial.
Make it
'cause,
creative.
Yeah, you're getting very creative. And in 2017, I had the chance to join ATC as the head of sales and member services, and I jumped at it, even though it was technically a pay cut from what I was working at. And there were a few other things that were going on.
It's important that you mention that, though, because I think that part for listeners, sometimes you have to wrestle with, oh, I've got this opportunity, but it pays me lower. And that, again, going back to the gymnastics of like saying, well, I've been there before, I can make that happen, and then take the leap and then continue.
Well, and let me be clear. I took a lower base salary. I took a higher commission rate.
Got it.
Right.
Oh, cool.
So
So
whenever
that's
You
faith
are
in
so
yourself.
not
Yeah.
risk averse.
Yeah.
You're
So
like totally
when
into risks.
I try to be. It's sometimes my mother comes out in me a little bit, the oh wait, we have bills to pay. But, looking at this and saying, hey, and I tell salespeople all this all the time is negotiate. If you have a commission and bonus structure, negotiate your commission and bonus because you're going to make more money on commission and bonus than you ever will on base salary.
Yes.
And so that's what I negotiated for myself. And within 11 months, well, actually within 10 months, I doubled the size of membership,
Wow.
including attrition. And within 11 months, I was named interim CEO.
Love it.
So, and I was with that organization for a total of 5 years. So my first turnaround with them was as head of sales and member services. My second was when I became interim CEO. My third was when the pandemic hit. And my fourth turnaround with ATC was after the pandemic came out. And at that point I was like, okay, this is it. I've got to move on and do the next thing, which is where Fundlist came from.
And that's yours.
That's mine.
So is this your first company that you founded? And
yes,
that is so cool.
Absolutely. But I've always looked at myself, even though I didn't have the role of CEO as a salesperson, I looked at myself as I was the business owner.
It's the owner. Yeah.
Because you start at zero every single month.
Right.
And you have to go out and drive that business.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to do it for you. So you have to do it. So yes, this is my first company that I founded, that I've created. But every role I've had, every single month I started at zero. It's very different than a marketing role or a finance role or an ops or even an engineering or product development role. I think probably the closest would be the engineering and product development team because so many times when they're starting with a new project, they're starting from zero.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you look at most divisions within an organization, it's not that they're not entrepreneurial, it's just that they're not as entrepreneurial on a daily basis
Right.
as
Well,
you have
I
with.
think it's the combination. Obviously, your upbringing, you're having to look at things, the type. It's interesting that you went from English as your major to sales at some point. And I do think there's that tenacity, right? It's a tenacity from growing up on the lower end of the middle and then saying, what do I need to do? And that responsibility, that ownership to say, I can take the responsibility and own and take this to the next level. And also looking for the opportunities and creating the opportunities as you did by saying, I want this space and this commission and that, because part of it is I can go and grow this on my own stuff.